Hello, you're watching the Ruslan Belov channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine as of June 29, 2025. A large number of very interesting events have taken place today. So, let's continue and smoothly move on to the line of contact. We begin with the Sumy section of the front, where a fierce back-and-forth battle continues. Both the Russian army is trying to advance, and the Ukrainian side is counterattacking. Today, there was one minor adjustment recorded between the settlements of Alexeyevka and Malaya Kachkarovka. In these frames, we can observe Russian aviation in action, Russian artillery strikes, attacks using FAB bombs, and heavy and tube artillery targeting the forward positions of the Ukrainian armed forces. There are many such episodes, with strikes again hitting the same forest lines used to transfer personnel toward Andreevka and Alexeyevka. One such strike was recorded at this location. Based on this, we conclude that due to the intensity of the strikes in this area, previously considered a grey zone, it is now under the control of the Ukrainian armed forces. So, we see that in the area of the second defense line, the Ukrainian side is gradually stabilizing the situation and beginning local counterattacks aimed at regaining previously lost territory. At the same time, Russian forces continue their assault operations near Yunakievka, but for 2 to 3 to 4 weeks now, no significant changes have occurred. Overall, the situation around Yunakievka is completely shrouded in the fog of war, and it's genuinely difficult to assess what's happening on the Sumy front. Next, we move to the Kharkiv direction. Today's most noteworthy updates come from the area of Volchansk. We've discussed the situation around Volchansk many times, and let me briefly recap what has happened there since around June 22nd. The first footage we received was from the 25th, showing Ukrainian units trying to fortify positions along the Volchya River under the railway bridge. They were digging defensive lines, clearly following an order to reinforce the riverbank to prevent Russian forces from crossing. Ukrainian reconnaissance was likely active here. These were the June 25th visuals, but already by June 26th, new footage appeared showing Russian units bypassing the railway bridge and attacking Ukrainian positions from the rear. At that point, we began marking the entire riverbank, including the bridge, as under Russian control. We then questioned whether this was just a one-time maneuver or the start of a full-scale assault on Volchansk, aimed at clearing it entirely. So we waited, and then, just 2 days later, on June 28th, new footage appeared. It showed the western part of Volchansk, where Russian forces were leveling the oil processing plant using heavy flamethrower systems, specifically TOS Sontsepiok. The plant was being obliterated. This was clearly not a one-off operation. It was an artillery preparation phase ahead of a full assault. We then waited for more concrete signs. Objective control footage or marked maps confirming the beginning of the assault. And on June 29th, several pro-Russian sources released updated maps indicating that Russian forces had indeed crossed and secured the Volchya River and were rapidly advancing into western Volchansk. By the end of June 29th, Russian troops had taken control of a large forested area west of Volchansk and had approached the oil plant. The plant itself hasn't been stormed yet, or perhaps it's being stormed as we speak. But as of the evening of June 29th, the latest reports are only about this advancement. Now, it's important to understand that the oil plant sits on elevated ground. From there, all of southern Volchansk is visible, including Volchya and Tsighelnya. So a fierce battle either is beginning or has already begun for this key position. If Russian forces manage to push Ukrainian units south, this could mark the beginning of the end for the entire battle for Volchansk. An extremely hard-fought battle that has lasted for over a year and may still go on. But now the fighting has begun for a critical strategic point, and soon it will become clear how things will develop further. Let's now move toward the Kupyansk direction, starting with the southern Kupyansk or Lyman section of the front, where heavy fighting continues. Russian forces are counterattacking, attempting to expand their bridgehead both north and south. The Ukrainian side is attacking from the Nitrus River to slow the Russian advance. Now let's look at some adjustments. Neutral cartographers have reported many updates. According to them, over the past day, the Russian army advanced toward the village of Novy Mir and managed to secure a foothold there, although without significant progress further north. On the other hand, Russian sources continue reporting Ukrainian counterattacks by the 3rd Assault Brigade. As a result of these attacks, Ukrainian forces managed to take control of at least 50% of Redkodub, including central farms. However, by the evening of June 29th, some pro-Russian experts reported that the 3rd Brigade had withdrawn from Redkodub, with only scattered pockets of resistance remaining. Russian troops have resumed clearing operations in the western and central parts. However, it seems this area is now considered a grey zone. There's also information about Russian forces advancing to encircle the settlement of Kolodyazy and to clear the Zelenaya Dolina area. This is a direct movement toward Lyman. According to neutral mapping sources, at least 50% of Zelenaya Dolina is now under firm Russian control. Yesterday's maps showed this progress, and today we see even more, suggesting that the whole settlement may soon come under Russian control. After that, we may expect battles for places like Shandrigalovaya and Kolodyazy. Next, we move to the Seversk front. There are no geolocated updates today, but a few articles by pro-Russian experts suggest that the 7th Brigade has improved its positions in the settlement of Serebryanka. These sources claim that Russian troops now control about 50% of this small key settlement. However, further advance to the west and southwest is being hindered by strikes from the Serebryansky forestry area. Russian troops are struggling to advance here, if they are advancing at all. So, some difficulties persist. It's also reported that Russian troops have approached the town of Seversk itself. A small reservoir west of Verkhnekamenskoye has reportedly come under Russian control. Some pro-Russian experts also claim that forward elements of Russian sabotage reconnaissance groups have begun entering the outskirts of Seversk. This is a highly important update. If DRGs are indeed entering Seversk, then the full-scale battle for the town is just around the corner. Next, we move on to the Constantinovka sector. Here, the Russian army is shifting the front line practically along the entire line of contact, from Chasov Yar to the H-32 highway. Near Chasov Yar, map updates are being published, including areas north of the city along the Novomarkovo Grigorovka Chasov Yar axis. The canal, at least the section on the Russian side, is now under the control of Russian units. At the same time, the front line is gradually being leveled out in order to fully secure the canal and push further toward Markovo and Maiskoye. In the Chasov Yar area, a fierce back-and-forth battle continues. There are reports of a Ukrainian counterattack in the central part of the city that temporarily stabilized the evacuation corridor. It appears that the Shevchenko micro-district will soon be fully abandoned. But for now it is necessary to maintain this corridor so that core Ukrainian units can retreat, possibly even from the city center and the Shevchenko micro-district itself. Once that happens, the entire front line here may collapse. There are also reports of a complete clearance of nearly all southern neighborhoods, specifically the area around Workshop No. 2 and the 2nd Industrial Facility. These updates are coming from various cartographers, both neutral and pro-Russian, while pro-Ukrainian sources have yet to confirm this information. Only 2 micro-districts remain, Yuzhny and Zemlyanka. Once these are cleared, we can speak of the full capture of Chasov Yar, which may happen very soon. We now move toward the Kryazyi Kleban Beek reservoir. Here, Russian forces continue to advance toward the reservoir itself. Several important adjustments have been reported. First, Russian troops have moved very close to the settlement of Katerinovka. Today, this information has been confirmed by various analysts, and the distance between Russian forward positions and the village is now less than 1.5 kilometers. A Russian assault on Katerinovka may take place soon, possibly through nearby strongpoints, which would complete the encirclement of Ukrainian forces in Shcherbinovka and Novospaskoye. Simultaneously, the Russian army is actively targeting key evacuation routes along Road 05-24 from Shcherbinovka northward, preventing Ukrainian units from withdrawing from this nearly formed pocket of encirclement. Next, we move to the most interesting direction, the Pokrovsk agglomeration. Several developments on this front are drawing attention. First, General Sersky recently commented on the situation, claiming that all Russian attacks are being repelled and that Russian forces are taking heavy losses. In addition to these optimistic reports, Zelensky stated that a new axis of Russian offensive has emerged, targeting the town of Dobropolye. Now Dobropoli is located to the far north of the Pokrovsk urban area. According to Seversky, this is the new direction of the Russian offensive. But if we compare the actual locations of Dobropoli and the current front line, there seems to be a disconnect. However, that's not really the case. Today, several pro-Russian and neutral sources reported a breakthrough of the Ukrainian defense lines along the Nikolaevka-Novo-Ekonomishnoye Razino, Novotoretskoye axis. According to trusted pro-Russian cartographers, Russian troops entered the northeastern part of Novo-Ekonomishnoye, as well as the villages of Razino and Novotoretskoye. In summary, Russian forces are now operating actively inside this salient. Looking at the map, it becomes clear what Seversky meant when he referred to the Dobropoli direction. This is undoubtedly a push along the H-32 highway northwestward, toward Rodinskoye and Belitskoye. Progress here could lead to the full encirclement of the Ukrainian garrison defending the Pokrovsk region. Still, for now, we only have map-based posts. We await geolocated confirmations to confidently mark any village, tree line, or field as under Russian control. Nevertheless, this remains a very interesting axis and development. Next, we head to the southern Donetsk, or Dnipropetrovsk front. Major and symbolic events occurred here today. First, the Russian Ministry of Defense reported in its latest update that forces from the Center Group successfully cleared the village of Novokrainka. This village, though located in the Donetsk region, is right on the border near the Ukrainian side of the Volkhya River. With this, the pocket in the area is effectively closing, and Ukraine will likely begin a full withdrawal from this sector soon. Additionally, some pro-Russian and neutral cartographers have noted that the first village in Dnipropetrovsk region has come under Russian control. This is Dagnoye, located on the road from Novukrainka toward Novopavlovka. The Russian Ministry of Defense has not yet confirmed this, and there are no geolocations yet. Perhaps they're waiting for the right moment to release this. But if verified, it would be a major media blow to both Zelensky and Seversky as commander-in-chief. The pace of the Russian advance in this area is clearly accelerating. In the southern Donetsk direction, Russian forces are also advancing west of Zeleny Volny Pole and west of Shevchenko. New map markings are appearing, and Russian aviation and artillery are working intensively on tree lines, individual structures, and frontline positions. The advance continues. I'll remind you that the cement plants have been destroyed. It's unclear whether Ukrainian forces are even constructing new defensive lines. As the Russian army advances deeper into Ukrainian territory, the existing defensive lines become increasingly sparse and poorly prepared. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, Russian forces also made significant gains today. They have expanded their positions in the eastern and southeastern parts of Malaya Tokmachka. A few days ago, there were reports of assault operations beginning here, and updated maps were published accordingly. Today, new information confirms a broader zone of control. Based on recent map corrections, virtually all of eastern Malaya Tokmachka is now under Russian control. A fierce battle is currently ongoing for the former women's prison colony in the area. The outcome of this battle could decide not only the fate of Malaya Tokmachka, but possibly that of Orekov as well. The fewer losses Russia takes in capturing Malaya Tokmachka, the greater the chances that a summer offensive will follow, pushing into Orekov and beyond. Meanwhile, Russian forces are advancing in the southern part of Kamenskoye. What is happening in the northern part remains unclear, but it appears that the southern part is now fully under Russian control. And that's all for now, dear friends. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and all the best to you.